got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey, you guys, welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Dano. You guys, we have a really cool episode for you guys tonight. You guys, we got Sean coming on, and Sean's from Maryland. And what's really cool is I don't get a ton of these encounters. It's a Dogman encounter, and I love them. I'm fascinated by them. Would I want to see one? Yeah, probably if I was using a spotter scope. I definitely wouldn't want to have one where it could get to me pretty quick. So before we bring Sean on to the show, you guys, again, just thank you so much for all the support. Remember that I have a giveaway going on. It's going to end on June 10th. If you join the Cryptid Podcast, the Cryptid Crew on YouTube, it is $2.99 a month to join, and your name will be entered into a drawing for this hat. I promise that I'm gonna work on getting more things for my members and things like that. So, and then once in a while, I'll probably do something for my subscribers. Don't know what I want to do yet for that, but that's definitely going to be coming down the pipe. If anybody has had an encounter or knows someone who has had an encounter and would like to come on the show, please email me at the Cryptid Podcast 72. Again, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. Forgot that part, gmail.com. And let's go ahead and bring Sean on to the show. Sean, how's it going, bud?
I'm all right, buddy. What's going on?
So, hey, well, here's the thing, man. I was in a chat, or I was doing a live. And you popped into the chat, and you just said a couple of words, and I said, you got to email me. And you did. And thank you for not putting a ton of information in here, because I'm sure, like many people, they want to hear this for the first time. So you had an encounter with Dogman, correct?
Well, to be honest, I had 3 encounters with a Dogman.
You guys.
3.
You know what? I'm just gonna let's get you front and center, and you just jump right on in and let us know how it all started.
All right. So my introduction to all this started at the age of 14 years old. I was 14. I did a podcast on old line cryptids. It was my very first time actually coming out and telling the story to anyone. As far as, nobody, not my friends or, my family or anybody. So, but yeah, I was 14 years old, believe I'm 42 now. So it was in 1997, I do believe, 97. I was 14 years old. I just got my first job. I had to actually go to the guidance counselor's office at my school and get a work thing from the counselor. I don't know. It was something back then that we had to do, but I was stoked, get my first job, and I was a soda bar guy, and I got the chips at a bingo hall. It was attached to a firehouse. It was the Pikesville firehouse. When we were 12 years old, when I was 12 years old, we moved to Baltimore County. I grew up in Baltimore City, Southwest Baltimore, as a child, and my parents, moved us out of the city, thank God. But my introduction to this started when I was 14. One night walking home from my job, where I lived at in Pikesville, was like old plantation homes. It's pretty built up now, but back then, the houses were pretty far spaced apart, and all right, so I'm gonna explain to you how all this happened. I'm walking home down this road called Subbrook Road, and it's pretty dark and it's windy in some parts of the road. And At one point, there's a one-lane bridge, and it's only big enough for one car to go over it. And on the side of the bridge, it has a little walk path on the side. And it's not uncommon, for us teenagers, back then to be hanging out under those train tracks and, throwing rocks at the train, being dumb kids, growing up. I mean, but this was 10 o'clock at night, a little after 10 o'clock. And, I'm come over this bridge and you can either go straight, right, or left. And where I lived at, you had to go to the left. And it was like really dark. It just lit up. The street light was right there on that corner where the bridge was. But once you started making your way on the street, there was no lights, not for like a good, quarter mile, maybe a little more. But there's really big bushes on the left hand side, really tall, thick bushes on the left hand side of the street, Greenwood Road, that I'm walking down. And I can hear something as I'm coming across the bridge. I can hear something heavy running on the tracks, but I don't see nothing because it's pitch dark down there. So I don't think nothing of it because, like, I thought it was maybe somebody playing down on the train tracks, And I just continue walking, and I'm just walking down the street, and I hear something heavy coming up the side of the hill, but I can't see because I'm already past that spot, and the bushes are in front of me. And so I'm not paying attention. I'm thinking, it's just some animal, maybe some deer, because there's always deer running across right there. They're always in the middle of the road. Sometimes you could probably walk up to these deer, like they're so. I don't. I was really close to some of these deer sometimes. Like you could literally walk up to them. You didn't scare them, but I was just thinking it's a deer, something like that. As I'm keep walking, all of a sudden I start getting this really, really bad feeling. I've never had this feeling before, and it's really hard to explain. Like, people talk about that dread, and that's the only thing that I can sum it up to because it's 14 years old, like I'm not really familiar with, too many emotions because I'm young and I just don't know. I'm, just not familiar with certain things. Um, and all of a sudden I'm looking through these bushes and I can I could see something tall and it's really dark. I can't make it out what it is, but I have that I guess it's a primal fear. I'm afraid. Um and I'm walking real slow looking, and as I'm walking further down, the bushes are getting thinner because I'm coming up to some houses real soon. And at the end of these bushes, they're thin, and there is a fence, a long privacy fence. I think it was a 6 foot privacy fence, and that's where the first house started. And but I'm not there yet, and I get too close to the end of of the bushes close to the house, and I just see clear as day, bro. It just pop up. This black thing pop up. It's got super big ears on top of its head, man. They're sticking straight up, man. And you can see the little tufts on the top of its head, and you can see the eyes, man. They were golden eyes. You could see the black pupil in it. I couldn't see the whole figure. All I could see was the apparition of the figure, the ears, and it was like super dark. And at this point, man, like I'm stuck with fear, and I wet myself. I didn't even really know that I peed myself because I saw people pull up like three houses down, and I ran over to these people, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They kept asking me, "Am I all right?" And the guy said, He's pointing at my pants, and he said, "I wet myself." And he's asking me if I'm okay, what's going on. And I couldn't talk, man. Like I'm just pointing over there, going, trying to say something, and they could see that it's clearly there's something wrong with me. And I'm just pointing, and I look back over there, and there's nothing there. The thing's gone. So I don't know. I didn't know at the time that it was a dog man. I can't say for 100% fact that it was a dog man, but everything points to me after the fact that it's a dog man, for the simple fact that the ears, the eyes, and the height of the thing. I mean, there's not too many things on that I know of that that can just stand up bipedally and that look like a wolf that has glowing eyes. I don't know anything like that exists. Um, so that's my first encounter with 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 what I think is a dog man. Now my second encounter happened when I was 19 years old. Now there's a lot of things that happened to me, psychologically, emotionally, and within me being 14 and 19. I've you know grown up and close to the city and everything. I've seen some things, been through some things that doesn't really shake me too much. I wouldn't say that like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like it's not really easy to like really shake me. Like I've been robbed at gunpoint, so like I know what fear is, and there's not too many things that really scare me other than someone trying to take my life or something like that. But I was 19 years old, and I was working at my sister's bar down in Baltimore City, and it's Federal Hill, and her and her husband had a bar on Cross Street. It was called Turner's. My sister's name was Donna, and her husband's name was Jim. You know, they they went through a real bad rough patch of their, they don't have the bar anymore, but um I worked bar back down there in Doorman, and I didn't drive at the time. So my means of transportation was public transportation. And at the time I was living, me and my mom had just split up with my father, and so I chose to go. Want to live with my mom. Me and my mom were best friends. We're really close. Um, there's like not much that I'm never even that I would never tell her. Like pretty much tell her everything, and she wouldn't judge me or nothing like that. Um, And I brought this up to her, when I was, after when I came home, and she just laughed and said, "Oh, you're seeing things, whatever, that just makes me not want to talk about it." Me dare not say nothing to my father, like, "Nah, that's not happening." Like, nah, my dad wasn't the type of person that that would entertain something like that. Yeah. So I was coming home. I had to catch the subway home, and it had to drop me off at, it was called Old Court Station. And where I was living, where I lived in Green Spring Valley, it was actually probably like 3 4 miles away from my first encounter. Um, and it was about a 5 mile walk. It was a hike, but if I take a cut I take a cut through this cemetery, it would take off like 45 minutes to my walk. So I decided to walk through the cemetery. And, I'm not afraid of anything because I'm carrying a 1911, after being robbed. Um, I'm not old enough. I wasn't old enough to buy a firearm, obviously, but they're very easy to come across. So I got myself a 45 and got my holster and, put it on my hip, and I carried that with me. I'm not a dumb person. I know how to use firearms, and I know when to use them and when not to use them. But I'm coming down. Now I can explain this. I get to this. It's Park Heights Avenue is the road that I live on, and the house that I live in it's not a house. It's an old mansion. Um, uh, I'm not sure which war he was in, but his name was General Arthur MacArthur. He was an old war vet, World War one of the World Wars. I know it wasn't a recent one, but this was a very old mansion. And they split it into, I think it was six apartments, six really big apartments. There were 3-bedroom apartments. It was a huge, huge mansion sitting on a lot of land, and I wouldn't even go in those backwoods after having this encounter that I'm about to explain to you now. Wouldn't go back in those woods ever, ever again. And I would tell my mom's boyfriend at the time, who was a hunter, he goes in those woods all the time. And I'll tell you after I tell you this encounter what he said to me. So I'm going down this road. It's called Park Heights Avenue, and I get to this road called Hooks Lane, and this is where you start going. It's called the Valley, and if you drive down through this, you're going to lose cell phone reception. You're going to lose. It's going down deep, and you just lose everything. If you're on the phone, you're losing it, and you're not going to get it until you get through it, which is like a little over a mile, and it's really windy and turny, and it's about. I left Baltimore at 12 o'clock, and I got up to Old Court Road about uh like around 1, and I got to where Hooks Lane is, going through the cemetery and all that. It took me about almost an hour to get there. It was like a 2.5 miles, something like that. Um, I'm walking slow. I'm not, in no rush to get home anyway. I'm just chilling. Um, so I get to Oaks Lane, and I really shouldn't be walking on this road. This road it's super windy. There's no curbs or no sidewalks, and there's really nowhere to walk. And it's a 2-lane road, and it's really windy. And there's only a couple houses going through here, and they're back into the woods. You can't even see the houses off the road. They're way back in the woods. And I'm going through these turns, and there's no traffic coming through here. No traffic has passed me since I've been walking down the road. And so I'm getting 3/4 of the way down there. I can see where the clearing starts, because you get to the end of the woods, and there's cornfields on both sides of the street. And the house that has the cornfield is on the right side of the road, and they have a bunch of stands and stuff going down the road, and there's a bunch of lights they have on the side of the road, on all their equipment and stuff like that, so nobody, messes with their stuff, I guess. But as I'm coming down, I noticed there's deer up to the left. There's a bunch of deer. I can hear them, and I can see them running through the woods. They're not real loud, but all of a sudden, I start hearing something crashing through the woods, and it's crashing and it's going, man. And then all of a sudden, it starts getting really silent. That silence, and then it creeps in on me. I got the chills, bro. My hair started standing up on the back of my neck and on my arms. And I got that dread again, man. And the only thing I could think about is what happened to me when I was 14. And here comes this thing. And there's no way to explain for words, really. Like you can't explain there. All right, man. It's crazy. Like, hopefully you'll never have to witness this for yourself. Hopefully nobody else, like, because the movies don't even do these things justice, bro. Like, there's something else. Um, this thing it ran. It was about 40 feet away, bro. It started running. I can see it coming through the woods. It was running on all fours, but then it came up to the edge of the road, and there's like this big berm that goes up past the guardrails up on top of this hill. And this thing's it like sits back like on its hocks, and it's sitting back, and this thing is pitch black. It's huge. This thing is huge. It's probably 8.5 feet tall, bro. And it doesn't have a really pronounced muzzle. The muzzle, it's not real long, but it looked like a timber wolf in the face. I mean, I wouldn't say this thing was ugly, and I wouldn't say it was like beautiful, but it was it was something else to see. It looked like a timber wolf in the face, and I personally like wolves. I think they're beautiful animals, and they're definitely needed for an ecosystem. If you know anything about Yellowstone, but anyway, this thing was pitch black. It had the hawk legs, um, but they almost look like kangaroo feet, man. Like, those hocks were so huge, they look like kangaroo feet, bro. Um, it had a huge hump on the back of its neck, and it had like a line, like it was like a lion's mane, I guess, and you could see it tapered down to like a V. Like, I didn't explain all this in the last the thing, my first time ever explaining this. I didn't get into like certain parts because I didn't think about it, and those questions weren't asked. But it was it was a huge animal. It was a very huge animal. It was probably about not quite 5 feet from shoulder to shoulder, but it was very large. Um, the skin was like gray charcoal, and the muzzle, like I said, it wasn't real long, but it was It was like it was kind of wrinkly, not wrinkly like the last one that I'm going to tell you about, but it just looked weird. Um, it definitely had a ton of teeth, and they were super sharp. Um, now the encounter probably only lasts for maybe 3-4 minutes long. As I'm staring at this thing, I'm taking all this in. I'm afraid for my life. I've already pulled my pistol out, and I never showed this thing my gun, but I think that it knows that I have the gun. I don't know why, but like, I'm getting this intuition feeling like he knows that I have the gun. Maybe he can smell the black powder or something, but I know this thing. It was pushing its nose up, and it was like sucking, testing the air. I don't know. It was really sucking. It was sticking its muzzle out, and it was sucking like, and it was loud. I guess it was smelling me, or it I think the thing knew that I had the gun. Um, but it looked like the posture, the whole time, the posture, his ears were pinned back. It looked like, uh, it looked like it was going to pounce. Like, that's the whole reason why I really whipped my gun out, because I thought this thing, it was going to come at me. Um, and I'm super scared. This is the second time that I've witnessed this thing, but now I see it, and the feeling is the same, but a little more intense because I'm actually in front of this thing, and all of a sudden I see cars coming down the road. You can see the headlights going, going back and forth through windy turns, and there are three cars together, and they go past me, boom, boom, boom. They're not paying any attention to me, but in the distance there's a fourth car, and as this fourth car is getting closer to me, I'm not even looking at the thing. I'm watching the car. And when I do turn back to look at this thing pounces, and it runs straight across me. It's probably about 30 feet, and it runs straight across into the woods across from me, going towards where those deer went. The deer went further up the road across, but he went towards where those deer went. And when that car got to me, they were they were like the type of people that I wouldn't associate with or talk to. Like, they're like two business type weird gentlemen. They're weird. They asked me if I wanted to ride, and they asked me what was that thing ran across the road. And no, I'm definitely not getting in the car with strangers. And I don't know what that thing was running across the road. So they leave, and I'm like such on edge. I'm still got the chills. All my hair is still standing up. Like, I feel like this thing is still close. So, and I'm only about 3/4 of a mile from my house, and I'm only like 3/4 of a mile from my house, because where the light is, it's called man, it's been a while since I've been in that area. Lived down there. Green Spring Valley Road. It's called Green Spring Valley Road. And once you pass Green Spring Valley Road going towards like Owens Mills area, you go up this hill, and on the right hand side you can see the mansion. It's huge up on top of this hill. Um, but after I got home, I was hanging out on the front porch, smoking. I was chain smoking cigarettes, and I was just, I don't know, man. I just needed to to breathe. And all of a sudden I see all these police lights, man, going up and down the street real slow. They were going up and down the street for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. I was out there the whole time, and I'm watching these police cars. It was a bunch of them, man. I probably thought the whole force was out there looking for me or something, man. I don't know if the guy saw the gun that I was holding and they called the police, saying that there's some crazy guy out on the street has a gun, and like, I don't know what those people, if that's what even it was. I mean, that's what I think. Maybe those guys called the police, but there was a bunch of policemen riding up and down the street. I don't know if they were looking for me or this thing. I don't know. But that's the end of the second one. Um, yeah, that was probably the worst one. the worst thing that's ever happened to me still to this day, even after being robbed at gunpoint. Like there's no feeling that could come close to what this creature makes you feel. Like it's the feeling's unexplainable. Like you can talk about it, but if you've never felt it yourself, it's really hard to conceive in your brain that type of feeling. Like you're gonna die. Your life is like in real threat, bro. Like something bad's gonna happen. My third encounter, it happened when I was 25. Um, 25, 2008. I'm 42 now, so yeah, I was born in 83, 2008. Um, I was up at a party. I was up at a party up in Hagerstown. We were drinking, you know, smoking. I used to hang out with a bunch of hippies back in the day. You used to have the bonfires and didgeridoos, and you have the bongos, and you know, get the whole drum circle going. Get 40, 50 people out there, and we're having a good time, man, just living life. And I know I had to be to work back in Baltimore at 5:30 in the morning, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had to and I'm going straight from this party to work. Like my job that day or the rest of that week wasn't even that heavy. I was just trimming out a house, well, a couple houses. I could trim out me myself. I could trim out a whole entire house by myself, a 3 bedroom house, 2 floors, and in a day, and that's everything, all trim. But anyway, so I know my job wasn't that real serious. So I could stay up all night and do what I had to do the next day. Um, I'm driving down Route 70 East, headed back towards my house, and I get to the point where Frederick, I'm like right about Frederick, and there's nobody on the road, either going west or east. Nobody. And this is Route 70. This is an interstate. This goes all the way straight across the country. And I would have thought there would have been, some trucks on the road or something, but at this point in time, there was no cars on the road at all. And I'm flying. I'm going, 90, and between 90 and 100 miles an hour down 70, because we're up in a mountain, and it's a lot of straight. There's not a whole lot of turns on 70, and if there is a turn, it's a very long turn. It's not very narrow. They're long turns going through these mountain passes and stuff. But um, as I'm coming down 70 on the right hand side, I'm in the slow lane going fast. There's nobody in the road. I think it's a 3 lane at that point. 3 lanes. I know now it's 4 or 5. I know it's huge now since they've done all that construction, but back in 2008, there wasn't a whole lot of construction going on out there then. And I'm going down the road, and I see something big on the shoulder of the highway. And I know there's farms everywhere up and down this highway. I'm thinking maybe somebody's cow or something got out. I don't know. Maybe it was a cow or a bear. I know there's bears out there. I've seen bears in Reisterstown and Owens Mills in Baltimore County, which is crazy. Um, so it's nothing to see, a black bear. It's it's not uncommon to see them off the side of the road sometimes. And as I'm getting closer to this thing, it turns around, and I'm like, oh shit, not again. Pardon my French. it's another dog man, and it has a dead deer at its feet. Roadkill, most likely. And I can it's like I'm going in slow motion, man, going by this thing in like slow motion. I don't know what it is about these creatures, but like it seems like time slows down like when you encounter these things, man, because everything like it's like tunnel vision, bro. It's really strange. Like I don't know what it is that that has brings these occurrences on, but um the deer is split open. It's completely split open, and I could see it. It's ripped at the center of this deer, and it was bloated, and it. I don't know if the thing did that, the dog man did it, or if it was just laying there that long and it just exploded. But this thing was pretty tore apart. Like he was really feasting on it. And as I'm going by it, it's got the hawk legs. It's got the hand, the hands with the claws on it, the raccoon-like hands with the claws on it, and the hands on both of the creatures that I saw. The second one, the hand was much bigger because it was a much bigger animal. This one was probably only about maybe 7.5 feet. It wasn't a super large one, but the muzzle was a lot bigger than the second one that I seen. And the color of it was a lot different too. It was had like a lot of grays, brown, and black through it. It just looked a lot different. It looked timberish and like red wolf ish. It looked very wolfish, no doubt, but very different from the second one. And the muzzle was a lot longer, and it was very wrinkly, like a Shar kind of deal, very wrinkly. Um, and it looked like it was smiling at me, man, because I don't know if it was because all the teeth were sticking out and like but it was smiling, man. It was gave me a shit eating grin, and it felt very uncomfortable. Now I didn't get all that like dread feeling and like all that other stuff that I felt the first two times, but I could see it clear like the second one, and they were clearly different in size, the size and in appearance. And as I'm driving by it, man, like it's just staring at me, and it just looks like it's smiling at me, like I see you, like what are you gonna do? I don't know. I just sped off, man, like, and ever since these encounters, man, I've told people about them, and they laugh in my face. They ask me if I'm on drugs, and they make fun of me, and like at first I was really apprehensive about even coming out and putting my face on a podcast and telling my encounter, man. Because I don't, like telling these stories, man. People will look at you like you're fucking crazy. Pardon my French, man, but they do, and like there's a lot of stigma that comes with these with stories like this, man. Like people don't want to believe you. Like your own family, man. It's pretty sad. Like you want to confide in someone, and you're trying to pull your heart out because you're feeling a certain type of way about these what these things have done to you and emotionally, and like they might have not done anything to you physically, bro, but psychologically, they do some serious damage to your psyche, man. I mean, I stopped hunting. I stopped going into the woods for a long time because of these things. I stopped doing what I love for a long time. It wasn't until a year ago that I decided, to take back my fun, man. I'm not living in fear no more. I can't do it. Like I can't. If I can't enjoy myself, there's no sense in there's just no sense in nothing because I like to have fun and enjoy myself. I want my son, my 13-year-old son, to enjoy the woods. I tell him about these things, and he laughs too. But the funny thing is, I tell him, let's go camping and stuff like that. But he won't go. Like I ask him, what are you scared? No, it's just not my thing. Like it, I don't know. He wants to make fun of me and whatever. It is what it is. I'm beyond all that. I'm 42. I know what I seen. I know what I witnessed. I know what I experienced, and it was real. Aside from what anybody says, you can't tell me different. You can't tell me different. And that's just what it is, man. That's the end of my encounters, pretty much.
Sean, holy smokes, man. I mean, I, I really I don't have questions, man. I was just sitting here. I mean, I wrote some things down, like the age that you when you saw them. Um, I think at 25, a lot of us, could party all night and then get up and work a full day. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people because I got partied out way before I hit 25. I was overseas in Germany, and I was in the military from ages 19 to 23, so I kind of got partied out real quick. But here's the thing, man. I've always wanted to see one of these things, but not to the extent of where you've seen them. You were inside of I think the farthest away you from one was 40 feet. And
Yeah,
then
it's about roughly 40 feet, brother.
inside of 40 feet, you've seen it two more times, which is no, thank you. And so let me ask you this: do you honestly think that on your third encounter, when you saw that one standing and at its feet there was a deer carcass, do you honestly think that was roadkill, or do you think it had maybe ambushed it right there on the edge of the road?
See, I don't know. It could have been roadkill, but and I know in Maryland they're pretty fast on picking up the animals on the side of the highway. I know they're pretty fast on dispatching them animals off the side of the highway. So, but it was in the middle of the night also. But it could have been something that was hunted by this thing.
Yeah, that's
I
what I was.
I don't know. It could have been.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. That's why I raised the question. And then, other than that, man, I can't sit here and tell you what I think they are because I don't. I've never seen one. I mean, I hear people talk about it. They're demonic. They're this. I do. I will tell you this: that I have a belief that they feed on fear.
I
Like they,
definitely get that. I definitely get that. What people say about that because it's a very overwhelming feeling that like it's really undescribable, bro. Like when I got like I'm missing my four top front teeth. I got pistol whipped and
right.
robbed, and unfortunately, I don't have the money. I'm a single parent,
Mhm.
and I don't have the money to get my teeth fixed. But even going through that situation and having a gun pointed at me, having an encounter with one of these things was 10 times worse.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. You know, um, again, I have no words for it, but it's incredible. Um, and from what I understand, I think Maryland is a pretty big hot spot. Uh, I think the further east or the northeast, I've heard a lot of encounters. Outside of the LBL, I think I've heard, you know, more encounters coming out of Maryland, Michigan, like Northern Ohio, Pennsylvania, things like that. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of a corridor that they could potentially be moving along. They may set up in an area where food is plentiful, and the opportunities to feed and whatnot are there. So, but yeah, man, I can't say whether or not that there is something more to them than being flesh and blood. But then you have people like um, Martin Groves and Daryl Denton and Barton Nunley, some very prominent people in this community that have
Oh, no.
seen these things up close and will tell you they've seen them walk out of portal. So, again, do I believe that? Yes, because it's Martin Groves and Daryl Denton and Barton Nunley saying so.
Well, I kind of believe it too, just because of the Scott Carpenter video
Yes.
that shows it. Man, it looks like a portal opened up and something like popping out of it
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
that trail that was behind him.
Yeah. That's See, when you get stuff like that, man, it's very, very what's the word am I looking for? It makes you self-aware of exactly everything that's around you. You know, Mr. Carpenter's just very, doing his normal thing and it pops out behind him. And that's where, I think people should really look at things like that, look at videos like that to get their awareness about their surroundings and things like that. Because again, if these things have the ability to manipulate, I don't know, a interdimensional being or whatnot, and come through, like phase in from one area over to the next area to possibly cut you off on something. Yeah, people's got to be careful. So
Yeah, man, this is a crazy world that we're living in, man. It made me rethink a lot of things about life, man.
yeah,
And
well,
it
dude,
made me believer in, my savior Jesus Christ, man. I became a Christian because of these things, man.
absolutely, man. And here's the thing, Martin Groves will tell you this, Barton Nunley will tell you this, and Daryl Dent will tell you this. These things know the name of Jesus Christ. They do. They do.
Oh, I believe it. I believe
And
it.
and if anybody says that that's not true, well, then maybe they need to reevaluate you know, what their belief system is. And I'm not trying to convert anybody over to Christianity or anything like that. It's just, there's too many probabilities in this community and in this subject matter for people to just overwhelmingly say, no, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, because every single day I'm hearing a new story. I'm watching a new video, I'm reading a new story, and there's similarities, but then there's also just a twist put into it, and you're like, okay, what do you do with this now? So let me ask you this, man. Uh, if you, to me, I think you feel like you're sensitive to their presence. What steps have you taken if you get that feeling again to try to get out of that area, or what steps have you taken to prepare yourself for something like that, if you can prepare yourself?
Um. So now I definitely carry a larger caliber weapon with me anytime I leave my house. I carry a
Mhm,
Glock 20. It's a 10 millimeter. I know that I know the damage it can do.
mhm,
I'm not saying that I want to shoot at one of these things. It would be like a last resort thing, man. I would just I would just back out as slow as I could, not making eye contact, because that's the last thing you want to do with a predator, because that's like a challenge thing.
yep,
You don't want to stare a predator in the eye. I'm not going to make any kind of sudden moves. I'm gonna talk to it, and I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna let you do you. I'm not here to hurt you or
yeah,
nothing like that. I'm just gonna go on about my business and just let me go.
yeah,
And I'm gonna say my prayers to Jesus Christ, and hopefully everything turns out like it did in the past.
yeah, absolutely. Well, bro, hey, it's 7:45, and I've got a live show to do at 8:30, so I got to kind of do a little bit of prep for that. So I just want to say, man, thank you so much for reaching out to me in that live chat. I think it was when I was on online or old line cryptids. I think that's when you popped in. So one, thank you so much for reaching out to me there. Two, thank you so much for emailing me. And number three, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling these amazing encounters that you had, in a span of 11 years, man. 3 counters again. I think that when somebody has encountered a cryptid, they're more than likely to encounter additional ones. Maybe not at the same, not the same year. Some people are lucky like that, but you, over the span of a decade, 3 encounters, I think it's amazing. And I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that this thing decided not to come at you, because then you probably wouldn't be here
Telling
having
the
an interview with
story.
me. Huh?
I wouldn't be telling the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. I just want to say one more thing. I don't hear a lot of people say this about these creatures.
Mhm.
This is just my opinion. I think these things could be like pre-Adamite, like Ice Age creatures, like the saber-toothed tiger, the woolly mammoth. These large creatures that they used to roam the earth that got wiped out by maybe the flood or something.
Okay.
Maybe these creatures were living back then in the time of Noah.
But
Something.
you don't know, dude.
Right.
Honestly, again,
Right.
like I say, in this subject matter, the realm of probability is vast. So
And these suckers are big and they're super fast. Like the quickness is ridiculous.
let me ask you this: Who do you think would win in a fight, Sasquatch or Dogman?
It depends on the size of each animal, in my opinion. I think a Sasquatch could win because they're bigger,
Yeah,
but Dogman have them claws, man, and they got them big teeth, and
yeah,
they got them big claws on their feet too, man, and they're fast.
yeah.
Like I don't even think, like in my second encounter, I don't even think I could have got a good shot off that thing so fast the way it took off. But
No, if you would have got a shot off, dude, it would have been standing behind you after you shot, as
right,
fast as you say that they move. So, but all right, my dude. Again, I want to say thank you so much. Hang out in the lobby for a couple minutes, and I'm gonna close out the show, and I'll show you a couple pictures that some people sent me.
all right, that's cool.
All right, buddy.
Well,
Thanks a lot, man, for coming on. I appreciate you.
yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, bud.
Yep.
You guys, that is the show for tonight. You guys, I love hearing Dogman encounters. Would I want to see one? Absolutely not. And this is a perfect instance, where you have to look deep within yourself, and you have to gauge on what your faith base is and what your relationship is with God. Now, again, I'm not trying to convert anybody into Christianity. I know my faith. I'm strong in my faith. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. Uh, um, and again, these things do know his name. And I've heard a lot of encounters where people have said, I started saying the Lord's Prayer, or I said Jesus's name, and they kind of perked up, paid attention, and then decided to leave. So again, all this is open for interpretation. This is what you guys, I'm bringing someone's story to you, an encounter. And again, I've talked to Sean quite a bit, and this isn't easy for him to talk about. It really, really isn't. When you've had something like this come at you, pop up out of nowhere, and it literally changed his life. And he decided, like you said, I'm going to take my fun back. So, you guys, again, thank you so much for coming on the show or watching the show. I appreciate it. As my buddy Josh always says from Missions Unknown, remember, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, guys, remember, a legend always starts with a sighting. Thanks, guys. That's our show for tonight. I'll see you next time.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?